3, 2, 1.
Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to another edition of Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mother Podcast. What's going on, Mother Podcasters?
Hello.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Welcome to another scintillating holiday edition of our lovely little podcast. John, you okay? What acting? I thought you were dead. It's amazing.
I was acting.
Acting. All right. Well, two of us kind of got into the holiday spirit for this series, and two of us, I'm not going to say.
route.
I'm not going to say they're purposely trolling us like some other
You are
people
not being trolled.
No, not at all.
It feels a little troll-like. I'm not going to lie, because John and I have a different feeling about what holiday films are, and this is good. I like that we're
Why the
on
show is
different places.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's all good. So tonight
You like the Christmas movies with the lighthearted themes like suicide and It's a Wonderful Life and committing someone to a mental institution like Miracle on 34th Street. You like the light stuff?
Yeah,
Is that what you're
Christmas
saying?
Vacation, people get blown up, and neighbors get. Yeah, I get it. I see where you're going. I still don't agree. So tonight we're going to talk about that famous Christmas film called Carol. Drew, that's Drew's film. Drew will talk about it. Then we'll do a round of what did you watch or read or listen to or whatever.
And we'll discuss all the people that died since our last show because there have been a number of big names of people that passed away.
Do you want to do that now or do that later? We'll do
Sure.
that after. Yeah, well, who died?
Well, Frances Sternhagen, the actress, died.
Oh,
Shane MacGowan of the Popes, Henry Kissinger, and Norman Lear. Like a huge range of...
Anthony Kissinger
Out of
That's
all
the
of those,
guy.
who deserved it the most?
Probably Kissinger.
Yeah, I think so. Too.
deserved to die.
Probably.
Yeah.
He was
lived
100 years old.
He lived
and
way too long.
Pretty amazing.
How old was Frances Sternhagen from Outland? She was in Outland, right?
I think
Good
she was
pull.
in her 90s.
Yeah. And she was
And
the
Norman
press
Lear
lady.
was, what, 101 or something?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, Norman Lear. Yeah, he was up there.
It was nice. It's not nice when he died, but when they were doing the little retrospective, it was nice. And when I was watching it with my kids, and I was like, "No, you don't understand. Good Times is amazing. Sanford and Son was amazing."
Yeah, it's
And
so
they're just
hard
like
to
me.
describe those now.
Well, you
It's,
couldn't. I mean, the reality is you couldn't make any of those shows now.
Yeah.
Really.
Before we move on, I'm going to cut to the Hans cam. Hans
the what?
Gruber, my advent calendar with Hans Gruber. He's now on December 12th, falling out of the building, so that's happening. Being that this is a holiday version of our show, I just thought I'd throw that in there. All right, so Drew, let's talk about your film Carol.
All right.
Remind us again what you brought last year for this.
Well,
same
last
thing.
year, I brought another esteemed award-winning film called Eyes Wide Shut about Stanley Kubrick, which was also set in New York City. Also, at this point, feels like a period piece during Christmas in a film suffused with Christmas imagery and lights and things.
Right.
And also, I think has a genuine Christmas connection with the connections to the Christmas Carol and everything that we discussed last year.
It's got a couple connections. One is Christmas, takes place at Christmas, and the other one is Todd Haynes, right? Who is in Eyes Wide Shut, right?
Is he?
Isn't he the piano player? that
No,
gets
that's a
the whole-
different Todd. That's the Todd who did Tar.
different
and,
Todd. Oh,
in the bedroom.
God. I was actually going to connect
Field?
those two.
Is that his name? I can't
Todd
remember.
Field,
No.
I think you're right.
No, Todd Haynes. Todd Haynes has done a number of big movies. He did Safe with Julianne Moore in the 90s. I despised that movie. I hated it. And then he has done some other interesting things. He did the Karen Carpenter story
That's
with
the
Barbie
Todd.
dolls,
Okay.
which is very
I got
exciting.
the wrong Todd. I was doing my
And-
best to connect those. Couldn't
In
do it.
this movie, Carol is from 2015, so I guess 2012, I think, he kind of gave into his affection, if not adoration and love for Douglas Sirk's melodramas of the 50s, and he made a movie called Far From Heaven with Julianne Moore, and I think it was Dennis Quaid, and a beautiful movie, a 50s melodrama, got all kinds of awards and attention, and it's definitely worth everybody's time. And then he followed it up with this, which is maybe even more Douglas Sirkian, more melodramatic in some ways, and is very Christmassy. So that's why I brought the movie Carol, not Christmas Carol, a different Carol, a very different Carol,
Slightly different.
to share for my holiday movie.
Okay. I'm sorry I stopped for a second, but Sean just sent us a picture of himself. I don't know if you can see that. Okay.
Well, hopefully he'll wake up soon.
Yeah, hopefully he's awake. All right, so let's get to it. Carol, go ahead.
All right, so Carol is the story of two women. One of them is a young woman who works in a department store and is aspiring to be a photographer, played by Rooney Mara. Her name is Therese Belivet. And the other is Carol, who's played by Cate Blanchet, an older woman than Therese, and married and lives in New Jersey while Therese lives in New York. And Therese is working for Christmas in a department store selling gifts to kids, and that's how she and Carol meet. She sells Carol a train set for her daughter, and then Carol leaves her gloves by mistake. And Therese makes sure that they get returned and ends up getting an invitation to have a lunch and spend some time with her, and they develop a relationship which can be characterized in a lot of different ways, and we'll talk about that. And it's a story of, to me, it's the story of a romance in Christmas in New York, which is a time where I think people are supposed to feel a certain way, but some people can feel lonely or isolated, and that's very clear in Therese's behavior and the way that she relates to everyone around her. And it's also a lesbian love story set in the 50s, and an era where you would have to hide those sorts of things because there are very serious consequences, which are also in the film, about what that effect that has on Carol and her marriage and her family. And the book that it's based on is called The Price of Salt, but by noted anti-Semite Patricia Highsmith. And noted anti-Semite Patricia Highsmith also wrote The Talented Mr. Ripley in that series of books. So, for a noted anti-Semite, she's a wonderful writer, and has written a number of things that have turned into movies. And the Talented Mr. Ripley movie with Matt Damon, I thought was really quite excellent. I think that was Anthony Minghella. I'm not sure. Yeah. And then Todd Haynes did this adaptation of Carol, which, as I said, was originally the noted anti-Semite Patricia Highsmith's book, The Price of Salt, which came out under a pseudonym in the early 50s.
Another reason that this should be in our Christmas holiday.
Yeah, she had a lot of awful things to say. She was like Lovecraft. She wasn't shy. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it based on her experience or someone else's experience?
There's questions about it. It's not really sure. Yeah. The thing it's interesting is I don't want to get her name wrong. The screenwriter actually was a very good friend of noted anti-Semite Patricia Highsmith, and she wrote the script and tried to get it made for many years, including, of course, after noted anti-Semite Patricia Highsmith died. Phyllis Nagy. And I think it's a wonderful script. This movie was up. It didn't win any, but it was up for a number of Oscars for things that, watch 5 minutes of this movie and you're not surprised. It's up for things like, costume design and things like that, and cinematography. I mean, it's a absolutely gorgeous movie. The script was nominated. Todd Haynes was nominated, I believe, and it's a very powerful romance and a very moving story, and the ending genuinely shocked me. So I would like to know what you guys think of Carol by Todd Haynes.
John, why don't you start?
Okay. I've never seen this movie, and there is a section of it that takes place in Christmas, but I think it ends in April. So Christmas is a small part of this film. I would not constitute this a holiday film. It's more a lesbian empowerment film, which is fine. But, I mean, as a Christmas movie, I just was like, okay, this was reminding me of the one Chris picked. It's a depressing movie, okay? Other than the very end when they decide to get together. But she's lost custody of her child that she's going to be able to visit, maybe with supervised visits. So that's not a good thing. Every guy in the movie is a complete asshole, every single one of them, which is, whatever, par for the course. So strictly looking at it from this is not a movie that I would ever say, you know what, it's Christmas, I'm going to watch this film like I do with some of the other ones. When you think of a holiday film, whether it's a Christmas film or holiday film. So, I mean, I can appreciate the performances. I thought the what's her name, Rooney?
Rooney Mara, yes.
I liked her. I thought she was good. But I think one of the things I struggled with a little bit was how quickly that whole relationship happened and all their lives got turned around on a dime, that I found a little hard to believe after buying a train. Now I know this was based on a true story and supposedly it was based on that situation. Now I don't know if all the other stuff happened, but the fact that she had, kind of a boyfriend and just kind of walked out on him and decided to go on this journey with this woman that she barely knew. I don't know. I found that a little hard to believe. I didn't necessarily think the budding romance was good because it was kind of awkward for most of it. But I mean, I appreciate the performances. Cate Blanchet's good in just about anything she does. But again, it's the argument of picking a holiday movie, and I didn't see it. Yeah, there was a little bit of Christmas in it, and then that feeling. You even talked about some of the films which are dark. I mean, It's a Wonderful Life is dark. Christmas Carol is dark. A Miracle on 34th Street is dark, but they don't end dark, and they end with a really good feeling around the holiday. This just ended, okay, maybe they're going to be together. Had nothing to do with Christmas, nothing to do with holiday. So, it was fine. I just, I would not constitute this a holiday film. That's it.
All right.
That's my take.
That's it. All right, Chris.
Yeah, it's funny. I am a fan of Todd Haynes. I know Drew doesn't like this film, but I absolutely adore Velvet Goldmine.
Oh, right. I forgot my least favorite Todd Haynes movie.
That is that's my favorite
Velvet
Todd Haynes
Goldmine,
movie,
never
which
heard
is
of
funny. Oh, it's terrific. Anyway,
It's got a great cast. I'll give it that.
yeah, it's a really well. We won't get into that. That's not what we're talking about.
You can bring it for Christmas next year.
Does any part of it take place at
tree
Christmas?
there somewhere, right?
They passed by a store that's carrying a wreath.
Exactly.
They're shiny.
So, but once again, yeah, you might say that this movie only takes place at Christmas, or a large part of it takes place at Christmas. But one of the things I will say that I will give it, and it's not necessarily makes it a holiday film. It's terrifically acted. I did think it was a little slow, but I really did like a lot of, you talked about how they seemed very awkward, and I think that has a lot to do with you're right. That there's this young lady, there's this older, very glamorous woman, obviously wealthy, and she's able to. So she's nervous about that. She's not sure where this is going, and it is a time where the social but also legal implications of being found out are quite real. So I think that whole awkwardness and that trepidation, it takes so long for it to happen, is like a completely normal thing. I felt that was very real, and it was this kind of overlaying tension. One of the things though that I did find though that I did think it made it kind of holiday-esque, not in a traditional way of course, is just this the terrible feeling that it must be when you are, you can't see your kids at Christmas, or the isolation that is really intensified at Christmas. So I mean, whether or not it happened a little bit on the fast side, John, I almost think that that's part of it, in the sense that here's this lady, she's she's already pretty isolated, obviously a woman that she had a relationship with, that relationship has ended, and so, but there's a lot of, there's her husband saying, come back, mold yourself back into the family. And another thing I am going to, as a little side note here, I can never remember that guy's name, who the
Kyle Chandler played
Kyle
Harge, her husband, Harge.
Harge. Yeah. Maybe the waspiest name I've ever heard.
Right.
But
Did you see their dinner they had with his parents? I mean,
I know, it's so great.
Right.
But and I say that and truly being a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So I mean, I can say that. But the funny thing is about Kyle Chandler is, and he does it well. He's a great actor, but he's got about this much range. I feel like he literally plays the same guy in virtually every film or TV show I've seen him in, whether it's Godzilla King of the Monsters or whether it's that TV show about Key West that he was in with like Sissy Spacek, wasn't he in that? Oh, it was a
Oh,
Netflix.
the Netflix show Bloodlines.
Yes, Bloodlines.
Yeah.
Thank you. I always feel like he kind of plays the same guy. I really like him to see him break out. You know, he always kind of plays the somewhat angry or can be driven to angry father figure. Do you know what I mean? But yet who's still reasonable. And that's the other thing. I actually found his character to be shockingly reasonable for a 50s male, guy. I thought he was actually kind of reasonable. Because he obviously knew about what had happened, but yet he still is like, I want to keep this together. I want the family to be together. But he's not above using his daughter and using the whole moral turpitude thing to get what he wants, which, hey, as a dad, I'd pull out every dirty trick too. I kind of understand that. But I did really like the movie. I thought the acting, obviously, top to bottom, the acting's terrific. It looked great. I did think it was a little slow, and I really did like the ending though, because I like the ambiguity of the ending. I like that because you're like, I'm not really sure how it's going to go. You see them, there's kind of a little smile there, so you're not really sure how it ends. And I felt that ending worked with the kind of film that they were showing. Do you know what I mean? Like in some movies, you get to the end and they don't tell you, and it feels like a cop out. And other movies, because they've laid it out, because they've built up to it, it feels like you don't feel ripped off when you get to that end. But I liked the film. I thought it was pretty good. I'd never actually even, I probably heard of it, but I had never seen it. So
Yeah.
so I
The
enjoyed
cinematography in this film, it almost looked like when you see a 4K movie, it's got almost, I don't know, grainy's not the right word, but it definitely has a different look. Did they do that with this film?
They shot it in 16 millimeter film.
Oh, that's why it looked
And
that
what
way?
makes this film so beautiful is they're using street photography techniques and some of the shooting through. If you notice, it's a lot of shooting through windows and
Yeah.
shooting in mirrors and double, images of people
Yeah.
against mirrors or halfway blocking where you can't see half their face. I thought
a
the
lot
movie
of
was,
a lot of rain streaking on the glass.
yeah.
The
And
barriers
there's
between
some-
these people.
when I did some research, there's some photographers that they specifically, street photographers who they used as an example of here's the look we want. And I think they nailed that look. I mean, the film is absolutely gorgeous. It's funny. I just had an interesting, as Chris was talking, the idea that, Carol is a predator in some ways because she and Rooney Mary's a very young kind of naive person. And actually her friend Sarah Paulsen, who the husband knew she was having relationships with, at one point in the film she goes, "Yeah, I have my eye on this redhead that I'm tracking." And I just thought, like, these two women are predators. They're out there looking for conquest to go after. And I didn't have that thought while I was watching the film. But as I'm sitting there thinking, what if you flipped it and it was two dudes who were doing that to some young kid? The film takes on a whole different kind of feel. But throw that aside, the 50s moralities, the fact that they wanted her to go to therapy to cure her of
She went.
lesbian, right?
Yeah,
she
she
went to
went
save
to
her
therapy.
kid.
Right.
It's frightening that actually existed. And I thought Kyle Chandler played the frustration of what he was dealing with. Imagine your wife going away like that because she's having relationships with other people. You're trying to hold a family together, right, wrong, or indifferent. I don't think he ever physically, in the film, he never physically hurt her or anything. Yes. Did he go after her with the kid? Absolutely.
Well, they implied too that he might have had an affair or something, which drove her to do what she did. Because that came out a few times. They didn't say it was an affair, but she said, he did something to kind of drive this.
Yeah, she kind of implied there, like you weren't there.
Right.
There was distance. I don't know if it means that he
thought-
had an
I took
affair
that-
or he was working too much for her.
I took it
or
as a
something. I don't know.
workaholic.
No, because there was other lines in it that it wasn't just about that. So something happened. But again, to Chris's point,
Well,
I think
again,
it's
but her
a
and
good
Sarah
point. You do
Paulson-
anything to protect your daughter, right? I mean,
Her friend Abby and her had a relationship from when they were kids, when
right?
they were younger.
Yeah, but
so
not a
they-
sexual relationship. They were just friends.
Right. But also, I mean, there's a lot of shame in the movie and how
Right.
people react to shame. And I think, you're a married man, you're good at business, and you got a side chick in the 50s that's just Mad Men. But a woman cuckolding her husband like that, like he would feel very, ashamed and upset. And the thing is, Carol didn't fall in love with Rooney Mara or have a relationship with Sarah Paulsen, who's Abby, who's also a wonderful performance in the movie, to punish him. She just, wanted to be who she is. And that's why there are different ways to read her decision to stop essentially throwing herself against the rocks that she's not going to win to share or get her own custody of her daughter. And she says, I want to be in my daughter's life, but also I've got to be me. And there's a way to read that as selfish. There's also a way to read that as I am going to be my true self. And Kelly's view of the movie is with what Ralph was saying, that Carol is a predator, and she finds this young girl. And even in the sex scenes, there's some very sensual sex scenes, like also shot beautifully. And Kelly said the way even that they were kissing, where Rooney Mara's mouth was kind of closed and her eyes were closed, and Cate Blanchet's mouth was open like she was going to devour her, type of thing. I don't read the movie that way, but I think that's a legitimate reading. And if you wander around the internet, you'll find people who feel that that's what happens in the movie. But to me, it's about two women in a time where they cannot be themselves and cannot be together. And one of them, the very young one, she's not a child, but she's a young woman. She's probably supposed to be 21, 22, something like that. She is trying to figure out who she is. And by the end of the movie, she has stepped out of her potential relationship she doesn't want. She has gotten on the path to be a professional photographer, which she wants to do. She's a very fine photographer as well. And the end of the movie makes me cry every time that I've seen it, because the way that the movie is structured, it's almost entirely a flashback, because you begin with the two of them meeting to have lunch, and then a guy recognizes Rooney Mara and interrupts them, and maybe, I'm going to go to a party. Do you want to come to dinner? Carol says, and Rooney Mara's basically like, nah, I'm okay. And then when you get back to that scene, you see how intense that scene was, that Carol has said, I love you, and that Rooney Mara decided to walk away. Therese is like, I'm done. I don't want this. And she goes to a party and she meets Carrie Brownstein, who I thought there'd be a lot more Carrie Brownstein in the movie. I love her. She's a wonderful actress. And then she realizes what she wants, and what she wants is Carol. And the scene where they see each other across the room, when she walks into the Oak Room and sees Carol at the table, and that's the end of the movie, I think is so beautiful and powerful. And it is both ambiguous in the sense that it doesn't tell me they live happily ever after or whatever, but it is, I love you, I'm here because I love you, and I want to be who I am. Because these women couldn't really walk down the street holding hands, but they can still be together. And that was very beautiful. And in the book, I think it goes a moment further, and I believe Therese walks over to the table and she and Carol, their fingertips brush or something like that. So it's not, you don't need that in the movie. I think the way that it ends with their looks, again, it's the acting is just ridiculous. Right. But I think to me, it's an extremely hopeful and beautiful ending. And the fact that it starts at Christmas is what brings their relationship together. They are living lives that they're not happy with, and they meet at Christmas. One of them's doing a job that she doesn't care about, selling things. The other one is buying something for a daughter. She loves her daughter, but in a family that isn't working, and they're able to break out of it together with terrible consequences and then still survive. And a lot of movies kill lesbians, and these types of stories always end with somebody dying or paying for it or something. And this movie didn't end like that. So I thought it was really kind of a beautiful watch.
I mean,
and
she lost her. She lost her
custody
daughter.
of her kid, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
she lost her daughter. But
yeah, no, she did. But
she chose that too.
She chose that, and she explains why she chose that, and she doesn't really need you to understand, like you, if you're Harge or anybody, she doesn't need you to understand why she chose that. And she also didn't say, I don't want anything to do with my daughter. And Harge is a lot of things in the movie. I don't think he's a big piece of shit. I think he would not oppose the idea of what's her name? Rindy? Is it the little girl? I don't think he would oppose the idea of setting up some kind of custody visiting, and that's I mean that's just how life is now. People have divorces. Their kids don't only see one parent, most of the time. So it's got kind of a modern solution to a problem that doesn't exist the same way, because you can say, oh, I love who I love, and I can live in some parts of our world. So
no, this is Rooney Mara's character is coming out, not as a lesbian, but as a human being, as a full-fledged human being. And Carol, I'm still going to land on the fact that this is not going to have a happy ending, because, Carol's going to find somebody else down the road that she's going to be attracted to, because she can't help herself. And I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, people get bored and they want to have the excitement and then go to the next thing, and the next thing that happens.
In the context of this film, Rooney Mara's character just flourished. And that scene, you're talking about the acting, the look at the end from her side was what's the power right there.
Right.
Because she left that party. She said, I'm done with all this shit. I even like the conversation she had with her boyfriend where he's he's holding the bike and she's asking him if he likes boys. And, the very honest, conversations about what was going on at the time that I thought was really good. Now, back to the Christmas part of this. The scenes of New York City at Christmas time, and just the staging and the like, you're talking about costumes and the cars and all that stuff. It just evoked that feeling of window shopping and all the stuff that you associate with New York City and Christmas time. I think this thing had it in spades. Now, yes, John's right. It ends in April, so it's really just kind of breezing through the Christmas stuff. But it was gorgeous. I mean, I couldn't get over how gorgeous this film was.
Well, if you want, you can say that it ends at Easter with a resurrection of when these people become who they're supposed to be. So you can make it a full holiday season if you want.
That was amazing.
Didn't see that one coming.
That you pulled that one off. That is truly amazing. So, okay. So, Under the Tree. What's our thing on these? Under the Tree or
Under the Tree or Coal?
Under the Tree or Coal? John, we'll start with you.
Well, as a Christmas movie, it's Coal for me, because this is a film I would never watch and relate it to Christmas.
Did Rose watch it with you?
No. It's not that she didn't want to. She just watches The Real Housewives.
Oh, okay. Christmas editions. Well, obviously, Drew, you think it goes Under the Tree. Chris?
Yeah, 5 Ladus for sure. Right.
Muted, Chris.
We'll dub it in, Ralph. We'll dub it in post.
We'll put Sean's voice in there.
Yes. No, it's definitely Under the Tree for me. Like I said, it was a little. Sometimes it felt like it took a little long time getting to one particular scene, and which was terrific. But seriously, no. But in all seriousness, no. I really did enjoy this film. Todd Haynes.
This thing was over. This was almost 3 hours, I think. 2 something, right?
It was like 2:10.
Oh, really? That short?
I think it was 118 minutes.
Okay. I mean, I
well, you probably rewatched a few of the scenes, Ralph. That's probably why it took so long.
It's 1 hour 58 minutes. 1 hour 58. And I guess that scene where the guy tapes them was based on a true incident that happened.
Yeah,
to,
they had the actual person. There was a recording.
Yeah.
That's something that actually happened to noted anti-Semite Patricia
Highsmith?
Highsmith?
The guy. He's the Riddler. He's the Riddler on Gotham.
Well, I knew that you knew as soon as he bumps into her that something's going to happen.
Well, that's part of the movie. Every role, even roles that are little, like you just think he's a salesman at first, even though you get the sense something might be wrong. But every role is just a fully inhabited person and performance.
Yeah,
it's kind of amazing, actually.
Yeah.
All the young people, everybody.
I'm going to say Under the Tree for sure. Now, I agree with John. This is not one I'll pick up every Christmas to watch, but what I like about what we do is this is definitely not a film I ever would have associated with Christmas, but it's also a film I wouldn't have watched probably if we hadn't done this kind of format, and I'm glad I saw it because I thoroughly enjoyed the photography, the acting, the themes. But again, I kind of agree with Kelly. I had a different take on the
totally fair.
Yeah,
it's a totally fair way to read it.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. Sean has texted me, and I asked him if there's a film that we do next week, a holiday film from you, what would it be? And he suggests that we do The Thin Man.
Oh, God.
because it takes place over Christmas holiday.
Yeah, William Powell, Myrna Loy.
And he said, I think everyone but you, meaning me, is going to like it. So
Oh, you're gonna love.
I assume it's black and white, which is why
it
said
is. Well,
is.
yeah,
Okay.
it's late 30s.
All right. How do you feel about
1934?
that choice as a Christmas film, John?
Well, it definitely takes place during Christmas. At one point, he's popping ornaments off the tree with a pop gun.
There you go. So
It's
funny.
only 91 minutes. So.
You know, the Thin Man, it's Detective. Nick and Nora Charles. Everyone knows who they are.
okay. All right.
I've actually
so,
never seen that. I'm looking forward to that.
It's good. It's very good. William
all right,
Powell's
so the
great.
Thin Man for next week,
And
that'll
they
be our
were
last-
married. They were married. They were ex. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
They
You
were
had
ex-
by the way, you had a thumb come up, a thumbs
Yeah,
up.
you
Oh,
got
yeah?
a thumb come up a couple of times.
when they made that film, they were exes, but they were married prior to it.
So that's our next and last holiday film for the season.
The Thin
And then
Man,
we'll get
wow.
back to our normal routine, which is we get to pick a film and come to the table with a film. No theme. I think we'll do a run with just pick the one you want and come.
I like it.
Okay. So
Velvet
we don't have to
Goldmine,
do.
Here we come.
We don't need to do a spin. So let's do a round of what did you watch, or read, or listen to. So let's start with Drew.
Well, I mean, my goodness, there's a lot of stuff going on that's worth watching. And I watched movies and TV shows, crappy ones like Leave the World Behind, and ones that were better than I thought, like the new Indiana Jones, and the trailer for Furiosa, which I didn't love, but we'll see. I trust George. But actually, the thing that I went and saw in the theater that I want to see again, I loved it. I cried like 4 times. It's spectacular. Is Godzilla Minus Zero. That movie is really an extraordinary movie. The story it tells is just a wonderful story with incredible characters, and it's really incredibly well written and paced. And it's also a Godzilla movie and a great monster movie, and their version of Godzilla is very interesting. It's closer in spirit to the very first Godzilla movie. I think a big thing is, because I like the American Godzilla movies too, but the Godzilla in the American movies and these other monsters, I think they're titans. And so they're like eternal monsters that exist to balance out the ecosystem, and they're part of Earth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas Godzilla, and I rewatched Shin Godzilla this week as well. Godzilla in the original one, and Shin in Godzilla Minus Zero, it's our fault. They're monsters that are the result of things that we've done, weapons we've set off, or chemicals that we've poured out, things like that. And also, it's set even before the first Godzilla. It's set in post-war Japan, and it's just incredible. And after I watched it, and my friend and I saw it and loved it. He's the one, he hadn't seen Shin Godzilla, so he came over to watch that the same week, and that was definitely worth revisiting. It cost $15 million.
I was going to say that. That's amazing.
How is that even possible?
Well, and
it's unbelievable.
It's Godzilla -1, right? Not -0.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Okay.
I kept saying
So
minus.
that's-
Godzilla -1.
And the
Which
director did
my
all the-
understanding of the title is that the original Godzilla is after the war, they've been rebuilding, and then this creature appears and stomps all over Tokyo. This one, Japan is defeated and literally in shambles. And then another thing comes to destroy what has already been destroyed. And I believe that's what -1 means. So
Yeah, and the director did all the CGI effects himself.
Oh,
that
really?
probably saved some money.
Yeah. So it's getting
Yeah,
rave
it's
reviews.
incredible.
Rave
It's incredible. I
reviews.
recommend it to really anyone.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to see it. Anything else?
I also watched
You don't
the
have to,
morning
but-
show. The morning show on Apple. I had never seen it, and it's with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon and Billy Crudup and Steve Carell. And it was actually, the first season especially was a really effective story about workplace sexual harassment and all these kinds of things that are in the news. It's clearly inspired by Matt Lauer and these other stories that came out. And the first season is excellent. The second season makes some choices that I think kind of make it peter out. And I actually just finished the third season last night, and I enjoyed it. I'm getting diminishing returns with it. But if you're interested in how these kinds of shows are made and what the people are that do it and the personalities and stuff, it's all based on Brian Stelter's book. He was on CNN, and he's now a producer on the show about the making of these morning shows. And just like that, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the author, but he wrote a book about the making of the Tonight Show and Letterman and all the stuff, and it got turned into, you know, actually a couple of movies.
Oh, the Late Night Wars, isn't that the book?
Right? Yeah, exactly. So the morning show is fictional characters and fictional companies and networks and things, but it's based on real things.
Yeah.
As is Godzilla -1 in a lot of ways. So that was worth checking out. I haven't watched enough of the Apple stuff, and you know, God, they spent a lot of money on those shows. They look amazing. So
That cat is going to lick you bald. For God's
I
sake.
know, man.
What's
That
it
cat
doing
is like
back there?
all over you.
he's having a good time. I don't care.
See it. All right, Chris. Chris, what you want?
I actually went to the movies twice in one weekend.
Holy cow.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, it was crazy. I went to see Ridley Scott's Napoleon, which I was really excited about because, you know, Ridley Scott's first movie is The Duelist, which is about the duelists, which is about two Napoleonic cavalrymen that have this years-long obsession in battle. I am going to say that The Duelist is a lot better, I think, than Napoleon. The acting was really great in Napoleon. But here was the thing. I'm also reading a doorstopper, I mean like a thick doorstopper biography of Napoleon right now. And it just really felt like the Cliff Notes version. I mean, there are like massive things in his history where they're just like, oh yeah, he went to Egypt. Here's a shot of him, like here's 3 minutes of screen time of him in Egypt. They just literally mention that he conquered Italy and turned Italy into actually the city-states that make up modern day Italy. They just mention that like it's passing. Oh yeah, he had successes in Italy. I will, however, say that the final battle in Waterloo is just fantastic. I mean, it is amazing. It's exciting. You know how it's going to end, and it's still exciting as far as that's concerned. So, of course, it's Ridley Scott, so it's beautiful. It looks great. But like I said,
Director of The Counselor.
yes,
That's right.
exactly. But it really did kind of feel like a Cliff Notesy version of his.
How long's the film? Is it 3 hours, 2 hours and something?
245?
It's probably better off as a series, right? I mean, if you're going to do that.
You know, it really, as we were watching the movie, part of me was like, well, is this going to be, did I not catch it? Is this going to be like Dune Part 1 and 2? You know, something like that. I thought for a minute that was going to happen, but they didn't. They just.
Well, is there, and there may not be, but this has happened with some of his other movies. Is there a director's cut with an extra 45 minutes or something that's going to come out? Because that completely transformed Kingdom of Heaven.
There may be, yeah. Because
So-
I've actually never seen the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven. I've heard it's great, though. It makes it a lot better than.
Yeah, it's a lot better for sure. Yeah.
And I also went to see Godzilla -1. My son and I went, and one of the things I am kind of most proud of as a father that my 11-year-old son is like, I told him, I was like, Henry, it's subtitled. He was like, yeah, whatever, let's go.
Good.
So he's totally fine with subtitled movies and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm just going to mirror everything Drew said. It's really great. One of the really interesting things about it is because I've seen the original Godzilla, not just the one with Raymond Burr, but like before.
The actual, yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen the one with Raymond Burr too, which is actually really good. But one of the really interesting things I liked about this film was the way that they kind of took the idea that all of these men who had lost the war, quote unquote, lost the war, go back to. They get a chance at victory against another force that's unstoppable. And while, you know, on the one hand, you know, as an American watching that, you're like, well, that's an interesting take, you know, that kind of like these guys get a chance to fight the unwinnable fight and win. It's really exciting, and it looks fantastic. I cannot believe it only cost $15.
I know, it's crazy.
That is
Well,
like
also remember those guys that get that chance to do that. They very explicitly do it outside of the government.
Right.
Yes, they do.
They
it
say
on
we
their
have to
own.
step up because the government is what conquered Asia and got us into this terrible predicament in the first place, and we are going to stand up and defend our home. And it's very moving.
It's very exciting. I will say though, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but some of the stuff that happened at the very end, I was like, really? But other than that, it's super exciting. It's great and it's fun. And Drew mentioned this. One of the great things about this movie that so many Godzilla films and so many monster movies do a terrible job at, you actually like and care about the characters. A lot of times the characters feel like, hey, we got to have people in this movie until we get around to showing the monsters. In this one, you actually really care and are excited about. You're happy to see them, and it's great. It's great.
I mean, that's how I felt about Shin Godzilla too, because it got down to the nitty gritty about the actual infrastructure if this happened, and you had some people.
This is.
For.
I love Shin Godzilla. This is way better than Shin
Yeah,
Godzilla.
great. Okay.
But also, it's amazing that Godzilla can have two movies based on this idea. They're both, you may like one more than the other, but they're both excellent films, and they're completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
The kind of story and what they tell, and the what they represent in Japanese history or culture, pre-war, post-war, Fukushima, all these different things, nuclear weapons. I mean, it's amazing. Watching Shin Godzilla again just a few days after this, I found myself marveling at how it was equally Godzilla and totally different. It's just really amazing. It's
Just like
really
what
one
about
of
the Matthew Broderick.
what is it,
version of
70
Godzilla?
years of Godzilla? Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's
Right.
amazing, I'm sorry, just one last thing about Godzilla, man, is whoever the sound designer was that came up with that roar that he makes, they use it almost exactly the same in every single movie and every time. It's all that is just one of the greatest pieces of sound creation
Yep.
in movie history.
Oh, and the music too in the movie, like Shin
Oh, yeah.
Godzilla, it pulls
It was-
music from the classic Godzilla films, and it's just magnificent.
And it's also cool because I'm almost positive because I rewatched Godzilla, the original, and they use like the same soundtrack. It's not just that they it feels like it's kind of tinny, like an old recording. When it's pounding in
It's
there.
produced by Toho Films, right?
Yeah.
That's who.
They
Yeah,
all,
it's all Toho, yeah.
All right, John, what you got?
Well,
Shin
I also saw
Godzilla?
Godzilla -1, and I'm not going to repeat what everybody said, but I'm going to say this: it's a great film, not just a great Godzilla film. And I'm
Yep.
telling you, go see it because for one thing, I didn't even know it was set in the 40s, so it's set right after World War II, where there's really no military. Where in all the Godzilla movies, the military is a big presence. There's not in this. There's also some nods to Jaws, which I love.
Yes.
And the atomic breath. It's the best use of the atomic breath in any Godzilla movie I've seen. My wife
Pretty
went,
amazing.
Rose, and she loved it. So go
Great.
see this movie. Also, last night, I went to the theater to see Die Hard. I had not seen it in the movie theater. It was the second Laserdisc I ever owned. And I'm telling you, the film still holds up. It was
I'm
awesome.
never
sure.
saw it in the theater.
Yeah, it was awesome. Me and a couple friends went. There was only about 8 people in the theater, but it was great. And it was also it was bittersweet because everything that Bruce Willis is going through. But to see him, I mean, he had just done Moonlighting. This was his first big film. It was great. And Alan Rickman, again, he's dead, and you're like, oh, he was so good in this movie. I loved it. It was so great to see it on the big screen. Now, I did some of the sound effects, like when they had bullets, the sound was definitely muted because I know on my laser disc in surround, the bullets popped.
Yeah,
from
you're
all
watching
around.
it's probably a digital projection off a Blu-ray.
Could
It's
be
probably-
because there was
yeah.
definitely a couple of times you're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Was it a Fathom thing?
I don't even
like
know.
that?
I might have been, but there was no marquee. They never, when they put these movies out, they don't have a marquee. I want to take a picture in front of the marquee, and they didn't have it.
Right.
But it was great, and there was some people who they find it. We were talking, and they find it every year to watch it right before Christmas. So to them, it's a Christmas movie. I still don't think it's a Christmas movie. The other thing I want to talk about real quick, and I'll make this quick. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. And I do especially like David Tennant. I thought he was great. And the previous seasons with the female Doctor, they retconned 60 years of Doctor Who, and they did. You guys, I say this all the time, and I know you guys will roll your eyes, but it got very woke. And this time, Russell T Davies was coming back, who was the showrunner under David Tennant, and they were bringing David Tennant back for 3 episodes. And everyone was really happy about that based on the previous season. And I am sorry to say that Russell T. Davies is ramping it up. I'm just going to run down the list of things that they did. Davros.
Well, no spoilers.
Davros, who's one of the biggest villains in Doctor Who universe. They removed him from his wheelchair because Russell T. Davies didn't want to equate evil with someone in a wheelchair. That's number one. They hit transgender. They hit homosexuality. They went against anybody who was anti-vax. There was a regeneration. I won't give it away, but it's called bi regeneration. Okay, now that's 6 things in 3 episodes. Okay, so I'm very disappointed, and I really do like. I don't know if you guys watched the one with Eccleston.
That's what
Excellent. I mean, he was great, and it really took Doctor Who to another level, like a more serious level than the old TV show. It just breaks my heart. I don't mind a little bit of messaging in these shows because that's the world we live in today. But one right after that, you know what? Fans of these type of shows want? They want good writing. That's what they want, and they want a good show. And it breaks my heart to see this stuff happening over and over and over again. And anyway, I just wanted to get that out. Boom, that's it.
I haven't watched those yet. I am looking forward to watching them because, David Tennant,
he's great,
and amazing, and the story, Donna's fate as his companion, is one of the most tragic,
no
story
spoilers.
arc endings in all of the series. And plus, I heard that we do get to see her grandfather again, and he is a wonderful character.
Yeah.
So I am more than anything. That's why I want to watch it, because I want to see what they do with Donna and see if they did her justice, because it was the right ending the way her story
absolutely.
ended. But you still felt that they did her really dirty.
Yeah, for
It's so
people who
sad,
don't know, he erased her memory, and if she remembers him, she dies.
Right.
So how they solve that is kind of interesting. But it's just
for her to forget
and
everything she ever experienced. And
there's
it's
some
horrific.
nods. There's some nods. There's a lot of callbacks, fan service, if you want to call it that. And David Tennant's great, but again, they just make a good show. And by the way, what's his name? The guy who plays Doogie Howser.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Great, very funny in this.
He's in that?
Yeah,
He's in the third one.
Toy
I
Maker.
think. The Toy Maker.
Yeah. Originally
All right,
played
well,
by David.
it's my turn. I haven't seen Godzilla -1.
Oh,
yet.
excellent!
I want to go see it.
Get to it.
I never have seen one episode of Doctor Who, but after what John just told me about the new series with the 6 woke things, I'm in now. I can't wait to see it.
I knew you'd like it
because I love wokeness. It just drives me crazy. I love it. No, I'm reading a book called Opposable Thumbs, which is the book about the Siskel and Ebert.
Oh,
Siskel,
right. Okay.
Roger Ebert, whoever does movies, even if you just talk about him, he's always the patron saint of whoever does it, especially if you grew up watching. And I grew up watching their show, not from the very beginning, but very early on. I can still remember my dad. I'd be home at for college, and I'd always watch Siskel and Ebert. He goes, "When are you going to stop watching these guys? You've been watching it for years and years." And it's just it's sort of interesting to see their origin story and where they both came from. And it's I'm looking forward to finishing that. And then the only really thing that I've watched last week was that film called Dumb Money.
Oh, how was that?
About the GameStop stop thing. It's not up there with Wolf of Wall Street or even.
Trailer looked great. It looked hilarious.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not, like I said, it's not quite Wolf of Wall Street or what's the one with Steve Carell?
The Big Short.
The Big Short.
Yeah.
But it's good, and it tells an interesting. I mean, you get an interesting take on what was going on with that, and you realize, fucking Wall Street. I'm sorry, effing Wall Street. Those guys are they're just full of crap, and they just protect each other. And the little guy gets screwed.
That's Paul Dano, right?
Yeah, Paul Dano plays.
Is it better than Wall Street? Money Never Sleeps.
No, it's not. It is better than that. Yes, it's better.
Okay,
it's not better than Wall Street, but it's better than that one.
I like my Gordon Gekko as a villain.
And that guy, the guy that Paul Dano was playing, disappeared. Not off the face of the earth. He just once he got his money, he just didn't want to be on. But they all from Brockton, Massachusetts, which was wild. This guy was just streaming out of his basement. He came up with this thing. Everybody around the world found it, and all these. It's just a kind of an interesting film.
And it's happened more than once since then too.
Yeah, well, I think AMC was up for some.
I had AMC, and it sold it, son of a nutcracker.
I don't know why my son Dylan didn't let me in on this GameStop thing. It seems like it would have been a good thing to dive into. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing. I can't wait to go see Godzilla. And I really can't wait to watch the last 6 episodes of Doctor Who. So, even though I've never seen one frame of
just know that every episode the ratings dropped 500,000.
I know,
but who cares? It doesn't matter about ratings as long as you get your message across.
I don't care. That's right. The message is everything. All right. So next week our last holiday film of the season, The Thin Man.
I cannot wait to hear what you think about The Thin Man.
How you said it's a short one, right? It's short.
Yeah,
I
sure.
know it.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll be
Yeah.
all right. I'm sure I'll be fine. I'm sure I'll love it. So, all right, we look forward. Hopefully, Sean will be. Sean said he might try to pop in for that one for a little
Really?
bit, depending on how his voice feels and what's going
Why
on.
don't we just do
Obviously,
subtitles?
We could do that. We could do that. So
How
let's
fast
see.
can he type? You know, you could just
Let's see what happens. So, all right, everybody, have a good week. John, do you have a subscribe button that can come out of your hand like that? Oh,
What is going on,
awesome.
man? John's
Hey,
got
hit the
like-
subscribe button, hit the notification button, smash
How
that like
exciting.
button.
How are you doing that, John? Like,
I don't know. I'm just. It's my phone. I've never used my phone before.
your
This is
thumbs
awesome.
up. You did a thumb up. Your thumbs are popping all over the place. So,
They were.
yeah.
Nothing's
All right.
happening wrong.
Well, there you go. Everybody, have a good week. Safe
Yeah,
week.
so we'll do one more Christmas holiday movie before actual Christmas.
That's right. And then after that one, we'll spin the wheel for each one. You know, then it's just a normal pick a film you want to bring.
Yeah, I might pick another Christmas movie.
No, you got hearts coming out of your mouth.
Love
It's
Actually.
Christmas.
I've never seen
by the way,
Love Actually.
I did watch Love Actually.
I've never seen
forgot
that.
to
I might
mention that.
watch it.
Yeah, it's great.
don't
It's
bother,
terrible.
John. It's
It's
terrible.
I might watch Midnight Clear again just to get that feeling.
You should watch Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
I will jam a fork in my eye before I watch
It's
that.
actually, especially the ending, actually a
Drew,
lot better
come
than I thought
on.
it was going to be. It's not
Drew,
great,
come
but it is
on.
better. No,
Yeah,
it is.
it is. Like
You're being
when I-
contrary. No.
No.
You like the
When I-
Marvels, Chris. I don't listen to anything you say because you like the Marvels.
Did you
the,
see it?
The
Did you see it,
lowest,
John?
the worst performing Marvel movie of all
Doesn't matter.
time. The
Doesn't matter.
Marvels.
Have you
You
seen
know what?
it?
I
The Hurt
no.
Locker
I don't have.
is
And I
the
don't. I,
lowest grossing Best Picture winner of all time. Is that a terrible film?
Which one?
which film?
Which one?
The Hurt Locker.
No.
It's not very good.
Don't ever use the Hurt
came
Locker
out at the-
and
that one
Marvels
came out at the
in the
right
same
time.
sentence. Okay.
Whatever, Dan. You haven't seen it, so you can't. You can't.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
Cannot render an opinion.
yeah. There was a car accident down the street. I didn't go to look at it either.
Yeah, but nobody says car accident.
So wait, John, you actually have not seen Indiana Jones, the last one.
I won't see it.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Maybe. I'll never say never. But the first film means so much to me, and
Okay.
he's first of all he's too old for the role, and they totally screwed him up.
That's part
fact
of how
that
they
she
tell the
punches
story.
him
and it
out.
works.
She punches him out. Please give me a break.
I don't think the movie is as woke as you think it is.
I'm not saying it's
And-
woke. I'm not even saying it's woke.
Well,
I
it is.
just-
It is a Disney product. So I would
okay,
assume
boom, there you go.
That you would
And
assume. that.
Disney, when they get a hold of something,
Well, I think that also the way that I had heard sort of floating around the internet, it's about time travel, and that it's going to be like Endgame, and he's going to kind of go through all of his old movies, and we're going to see all the stuff again, like Back to the Future 2 or something like that. That's not it at all. And there's a certain point towards the end of the movie, which is rare. Same thing actually happened to me in the Last of the Hunger Games prequel, where you're like, wait, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know where we're going to go. I'm interested.
they
I
reshot
want to
the
know,
ending.
but I don't know.
You know what
That
the
doesn't-
original? Do you know what the original ending
that
was?
doesn't mean anything.
They
All these movies
reshot
have
it. Do you know what the
reshoots.
original ending was?
Do you know what the original
He
ending
gets
Yeah,
a
I do.
boyfriend. He gets
I
a
do.
boyfriend. He moves
He
in
gets
with
a
a dude.
boyfriend.
He disappears, and then they show the scenes from the original movies with her instead of him. That was the
Yeah,
original
I don't think
ending.
they actually shot that.
They did shoot it because they reshot the whole ending.
But they
I
didn't.
don't-
They
I
didn't
don't
put
think
it
that's
out.
true.
So they.
But
So
John,
somebody.
but they decided to change it. I mean,
Yeah, why?
because
got
it's not a
leaked.
good ending.
Because it
yeah,
didn't work.
exactly. But it got leaked. That was the ending he wanted to do.
all I'm
Killing
saying,
that character.
and I said the same thing.
I
when
wouldn't have minded
talked
that
about
actually.
it.
That would
Of course you wouldn't have, because that's you. You don't care about those movies. You don't
What do
care
you
at
mean I
all
don't
about
care?
those movies.
That's not true at all.
It
It's
is
just-
true. You say it all the time.
What?
Oh, you're a nerd. You're a nerd.
That's not a superhero movie. The Indiana Jones.
Oh
films
no,
aren't
no, it's
superhero.
it's real. It's grounded.
I'm not. Who's the child here? Me or
Well,
you?
I mean, it's not a superhero. No shit, it's not a super. Neither is Star Wars. Star Wars isn't a superhero movie.
Right. What's your? I don't get your point.
What's your point?
My
It's a
point is
nerd
you haven't.
movie.
You can't say anything because you haven't seen it.
All I can say is this:
You
when
want
I
an
saw it in
opinion?
the
Go
theater-
see it. If you haven't seen it, shut your mouth.
When
What were you
I
saying,
saw
Chris?
it in the theater, it's the same thing I said when I reviewed it here about 2/3 or
What if I
three-quarters
do
of the way
this?
through, I realized how much I was enjoying it, and I was just like, just don't blow it at the end. Just don't blow. And you know what? Honestly, they didn't.
I was
think
worried
I agree.
about the end. Let's see now. When the first scene that comes up where he's running on the train, I'm like, oh god, that looks like it. Just
I
looks.
saw
like-
that scene. That looked great.
Okay.
CGI
So I was
The
worried.
de-aging is rough too.
Yeah. So, but I was worried about the whole time travel thing and what they're going to do. And man, I just felt like,
You're
and
just into it.
she sucker punched him. It wasn't like she's
Oh, yeah.
boxing. She just sucker punched him.
No, yep.
She was a tough chick.
Oh,
She
yeah,
was great.
absolutely. No, she
I loved
definitely.
her. I loved her.
Definitely. Oh,
I'll
sure.
bet John loved her
very
in
popular.
Solo as well. So
Another not too good movie.
I liked Soul.
That one.
Yeah, it's
I
fun.
Honestly,
So
John,
it's
you
would
have
like
to
to
at
see
least.
the original version of it.
You can have all the opinions
Me
you
too.
want. You just have to
Yeah,
see
me
it.
too. I would have rather seen the original. But you know, one of the reasons I say this, and I've said it 1,000 times about Lucas and the movies and everything, one of the reasons why Solo, at least, I felt like had a little bit more life to it, or a little bit more energy, Lawrence Kasdan did the screenplay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did the screenplay for Solo. And I kind of blame him a little bit.
Same
because-
guy that wrote Dreamcatcher and directed Dreamcatcher.
Hey, I'm not saying he's perfect.
that's a fantastic movie. How dare
But he
you?
did the
Silverado.
Yeah.
He did, yeah, Silverado's great. but
Empire
like,
Strikes Back. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, basically, he also did Raiders. He did the first 3 Raiders movies. I mean, basically,
Grand Canyon.
that's actually pretty good. I like Grand Canyon. I mean, let me
The Big
rephrase.
Chill?
It's been a long time since
Big
I've seen it.
Chill. Great film.
But like he has always been good at taking the idea and the story that George Lucas comes up with and making it seem like, you know, and possible and brushing it up for people. In
Right.
fact, apparently Lucas went to him when he was doing the prequels and said to Kasdan, I want you to do the screenplays. And Kasdan was like, hey, George, this is kind of your thing. I'm going to let you run with that. And so I kind of blame him a little bit because I feel like if that extra creative tete-a-tete would have been there, push and pull, that maybe Lucas wouldn't have gotten so far kind of, you know,
Yeah.
let me show you what I can do with all
up
my
his
toys.
own ass.
Or you could say that too.
That's called crystal sculling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Did
don't
you
count
see?
that one
Did
either.
you see
I don't
Crystal
count that
Skull?
one.
Did you see
I
it?
saw that, yeah.
And you can have that opinion. That's
It
fine.
was terrible. But
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
there were some good things in it, but it was a terrible movie.
That library, I mean, the campus chase
Yeah.
is one of the all-time great
Excellent.
Indiana Jones action
And
sequences.
Cate Blanchett was a good villain, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just Shia LaBeouf and the aliens. It's just, for me, they should have ended it with the third one. And it was a perfect ending when they all ride off. It was perfect.
Into the sunset. That was the plan.
It was,
Look, I didn't need this newest one. I didn't see it in the theater,
yeah.
but I'm glad I saw it. I thought it was
Yeah.
good and it was worth watching. So.
Yeah, maybe. No, I can't.
But hey, Ralph, since you're actually reading books now, I'm also reading a book. I don't think we'll
What?
quit.
A movie adaptation?
No, no.
You just said you're
but-
reading that thick Napoleon book.
Yeah,
Well,
the
yeah,
door
but
stopper.
I'm
The
also
Doorstopper.
reading Easy Riders.
A
I've
classic.
read that one 3 times.
Yeah, this is a great one. Yeah,
it's
I've
so
never
good.
actually sat down and read it, so this is the first time I'm reading it. It's great.
It's so good. You
It's
talk
about
about origin
70s
stories.
cinema, John. You'll love it.
It's so good.
Who is that? Peter Biskind?
Yeah, yeah. But you
Yeah, that's a
actually
great
would
book.
probably like it, John, because it's about like you really like that movie about that show about The Godfather. It's all of that kind of behind the scenes.
Oh,
how
yeah?
it's made, you know, guys bucking the system kind
Those
of.
guys all came up together. Scorsese
Yeah.
and Spielberg and De Palma.
I love those. I love
and
books
George
like that.
Lucas, and
Yeah.
it's just like I said, I've actually read that. It's so fun. I've read it like 3 times, just
Nice.
cover to cover. I just love it.
Wow, we just went off on a whole nother tangent here.
There you go. Well, that's what makes this
Right
so
after the
interesting.
subscribe thing.
That's what makes it so interesting.
Nice.
All right.
All right, guys.
John, that show's streaming. Just watch it. Just watch the Indiana Jones and talk about it when you come back next week.
Ralph, shut up.
It's on the Disney Plus.
Shut your mouth.
Is that how I
Yeah.
sound to you?
Yeah, that's how you sound, Ralph. The showrunner doesn't talk to the
You're
team. Like,
frustrated. You frustrated me. That's
Are you
frustrating.
kidding? The showrunner always talks to the team
I
like that.
always talk like that.
he's a little
That's
more
why Me
passive
Too exists.
Drew, he's a little more passive aggressive than that.
I'm aggressive. So, all right. Everybody have a
guys.
good week. Hopefully Sean will be with us. Do a little Thin Man. See what happens, okay?
Thin Man. William
Sounds good.
Popcorn Lloyd. Check it out.
Have a good night, everybody.
See you guys.